A massive drug bust connected to a major Mexican cartel. 19 people have been charged, including Washingtonians and foreign nationals.
Fox 13 News reporter Nia Wong.
Some of these shipments were so large they were brought here in semi-trucks.
Seattle woke up to chaos. In a sweeping pre-dawn raid, federal agents stormed warehouses, ports, and neighborhoods, uncovering a Sinaloa cartel command cell operating inside.
All right. Welcome to Just Another Black Conservative. We're going to watch this video about Seattle. A big drug bust that happened in Seattle by ICE and the DHS. Before I get started with this, I visited Washington a while back, and that's such a pretty state, but it is definitely a leftist wasteland. But let's get into what this video is saying.
Ports, and neighborhoods, uncovering a Sinaloa cartel command cell operating inside the city. The mission, Operation Take Back America, was an 18-month joint DEA-ICE offensive that exposed how deeply cartels had embedded within U.S. borders. For Seattle, it wasn't just a bust. It was the day the fentanyl war reached home.
And Homeland Security officials say Mexican cartels now are attempting to track, harass, and target immigration and border patrol agents.
The numbers told the story better than any headline could. 19 people tied directly to Mexico's Sinaloa cartel.
So they found 19 people directly tied to the Sinaloa cartel in Seattle. And we have these people running around saying that there's not a problem with the immigration that we're having in this country, that there are no criminals coming into the country, that it's all made up, that Trump is inflating it. And actually Washington and the people in Washington, a lot of the leftists out there are the biggest proponents of allowing this to go on. But
Cartel faced 37 federal charges, from conspiracy to drug trafficking to weapons violations. The arrests spanned Seattle, Tacoma, and surrounding counties. Agents seized 4,165 pounds of methamphetamine, 269 pounds of fentanyl, 23 pounds of cocaine, 6.4 pounds of heroin, and a stockpile of 23 firearms, some modified for automatic fire, and explosive materials recovered from hidden compartments inside suburban.
Holy cow! How did they get that many drugs and weapons into a U.S. city that is so far north of the southern border? People had to be turning their eyes, not seeing what was going on.
Urban garages. Each item on that list represented not just contraband, but an industry's entire infrastructure exposed in one sweep.
Breaks down how federal agents tracked this case from Tacoma to Sinaloa, Mexico.
You're looking at a fraction of the hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine seized by the Drug Enforcement Administration and partnering agencies.
Investigators later said the fentanyl alone could have produced 6.9 million lethal doses, enough to wipe out the combined populations of Seattle and Tacoma several times over. In total, 51 arrests across the country were linked to the same supply chain, showing how deep the operation reached. The takedown wasn't a single lucky raid. It was the end of an 18-month pursuit across multiple states.
Man, they had to investigate this for 18 months. So for 18 months, they were moving this contraband across the country into Washington.
Tracking encrypted chats, tracing wire transfers, and decoding a smuggling network that treated American highways like conveyor belts. The cartel behind it wasn't new. It was the same Sinaloa empire that had spent decades moving product across borders, adapting faster than any government agency could respond. But the structure discovered in Seattle wasn't an import. It was a branch office.
Wait, no, I don't think it was because they couldn't follow them. It's because they weren't going after them. They were letting them run with, just run through the country with impunity. And then you have people running around basically saying, hands off these people. And the latest thing is, don't profile them. What? Okay.
The network had found a way to operate from within, merging local contacts, legal trade routes, and financial channels into a self-sustaining system. When investigators followed the trail, they found two names at the center: Rosario Abel Wayne Camargo Bañuelos, 31, and his younger brother Francisco Fernando Camargo Bañuelos, 24.
This could have killed every person in every community in the Puget Sound region.
Investigators say this ring distributed deadly drugs up the west coast to Washington.
From strongholds in Sinaloa, the brothers managed a pipeline that began in Mexico, ran through California's freight depots, and ended in Washington's ports and warehouse district.
Okay. So they brought it up into California and then put it on boats and sent it up around to Washington? Wow. Man, what an operation. Well, boats, and then I guess they were trucking it up there too. Wow.
They didn't cross borders carrying drugs. They controlled the people and logistics that did. Freight forwarders, trucking companies, and customs brokers, many of them legitimate businesses, were folded into their plan. The brothers communicated through encrypted channels.
So it was a complicated network using legitimate businesses, trucking companies. They got everybody paid off to get these drugs moved up there.
Routing messages through dummy accounts and foreign servers, their operations blending seamlessly into legal commerce. Semi-trucks carrying fertilizer or household goods also carried tightly sealed chemical containers. Couriers moved shipments through the I-5 corridor under ordinary shipping manifests. The drugs were stored in garages, sheds, and rental properties scattered between Everett and Tacoma. Every step was built to look normal until the day federal agents moved in.
A very significant bust, a very significant operation for the Pacific Northwest.
Ream says their investigation started 2 years ago with undercover agents buying drugs in Tacoma to their most recent bust in early August, which stretched across 11 different locations in the Seattle area. Not only seizing...
Both brothers ran finances through cryptocurrency wallets and shell companies registered in Delaware and Mexico City, giving them the appearance of distant investors rather than drug traffickers. The money trail showed deposits in digital coins, later converted to pesos or laundered through small import-export businesses. By the time agents traced one transaction, another had already been cashed out. Among those arrested on U.S. soil were key operators. Isabel Berry Sapon, a 44-year-old truck driver, was caught moving multi-hundred-pound loads of meth and fentanyl between state lines.
Man, she was brave to have that much fentanyl in her truck, considering how deadly it is if you touch it. But she was moving it. No worries. I wonder, she must be getting a good paycheck for that.
Jose Felix German, a 34-year-old Mexican citizen deported in 2013, had illegally re-entered the U.S. to manage financial transactions and coordinate local redistributors. Each faces a minimum of 10 years in federal prison and the possibility of life sentences under U.S. drug and weapon statutes. The scope of their network reflected a simple truth. Sinaloa didn't just smuggle drugs anymore. It built systems that mirrored legitimate industry.
Wait, if the Sinaloa cartel set this up as a normal business running through the U.S., how many other drug cartels do you think are doing the same thing in the U.S., the same commerce system in the U.S.? I'm going to bet there's probably quite a few. So Trump's got to get on the ball.
Routes, warehouses, and supply chains ran with corporate precision, and the Pacific Northwest had quietly become one of its main distribution hubs. Seattle and Tacoma, with their dense ports and steady freight traffic, provided the perfect cover for what investigators called logistics-based infiltration.
The Sinaloa cartel peddles this poison for one reason: to make money. In this case, we hit them where it hurt.
In Seattle,
behind the criminal mechanics lies the crisis that pushed the operation to urgency. Washington's overdose numbers told their own version of a state under siege. In 2023 alone, the state recorded 3,477 overdose deaths, 76% tied directly to fentanyl. In King County, deaths passed 1,000 for the first time. Local officials described morgues operating at near capacity and first responders fielding multiple overdose calls daily. Federal lab data from seized counterfeit pills confirmed why. 5 out of 10 pills contained more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl, an amount capable of killing the average adult within minutes. And those pills weren't packaged as street drugs. They were disguised as everyday medications. Adderall for students.
Can I ask a question? And this is, I've never done drugs, and I've never wanted to do drugs. But, why? Okay, first of all, if you were if you were into drugs and you were buying drugs off the street and they were giving you these pills that you thought were something else and it just happened to be fentanyl and they took your life, as a drug dealer, why? I'm not saying if you are a drug dealer or affiliated with drugs or whatever, drop in the chat why you would be giving a drug that could kill somebody to somebody if you wanted to have a repeat customer. I want to know that.
Oxycodone for pain relief, Xanax for anxiety. To a parent, they looked harmless. To the DEA, they looked like evidence of a deliberate strategy to target new users. The human cost defined Seattle's crisis. Every statistic represented someone's family, someone's loss. Parents found their children unresponsive in bedrooms. Schools reported students collapsing in bathrooms, and emergency rooms faced wave after wave of overdoses linked to counterfeit pills. Police traced many of these deaths back to a handful of local distribution cells dismantled during the operation. Public health data show that fentanyl has now surpassed every other cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45, overtaking car accidents, suicide, and gun violence combined. Seattle, once seen as distant from border smuggling routes, became the evidence that the crisis was national. The city's overdose surge mirrored the rest of the country's trajectory.
Now, I did hear that a lot of the chemicals that go to Mexico to create fentanyl comes from China. So, could it be possible that the reason why that they're selling these drugs that can kill Americans is coming from China because there is an overall reason for China to be doing this? I mean, I know I'm headed down a conspiracy theory avenue, but could it be possible? I mean, logically, does it make sense?
From isolated incidents to systemic disaster.
Not only seizing drugs, but guns and $650,000.
Drugs and guns go together, and this group had an arsenal at their disposal.
The 37
Operation Take Back America exposed how easily international networks embedded themselves inside American cities. By the time the first raids began, agents had mapped more than a dozen interconnected cells between Seattle, Tacoma, and smaller towns along Puget Sound. Each group handled a different task, manufacturing storage, transport, or street distribution, making the network harder to dismantle completely. ICE officials argued that city governments like Seattle's had turned a blind eye to repeat offenders. In their statement, they accused municipal authorities of releasing known public safety threats into the community.
Yeah, see, this is another thing that I don't understand. And maybe somebody can drop this in the chat, because this is a question I have too. These cities, Boston, New York, Chicago, Seattle, LA, why? Okay, if someone breaks the law in your city and they do something and you find them out, the police find them out, they put them in jail, why are you releasing them back onto the street? I mean, if it's a criminal offense like they're raping someone, or they have a firearm, or they've domestic violence, and they're illegal in this country, why are you not turning them over to ICE to get them out of the country? Why are you putting them back on the street to commit more crimes? Maybe someone can answer that question in the chat.
Citing multiple deported cartel-linked suspects who had returned to Washington undetected, ICE Director of Field Operations stated bluntly, "If local governments refuse to cooperate, we will redirect our assets to enforce the law ourselves. Public safety cannot be optional." The agency's language made clear this was not a temporary campaign. It was a shift in national strategy aimed at dismantling the barriers between federal immigration enforcement and local jurisdictions.
Seattle now finds itself on notice for immigration enforcement. ICE agents will be ramping up their operations throughout the city, looking to detain and deport people here illegally as part of a targeted crackdown. Good evening, I'm Molly Shen.
Seattle's mayor, Bruce Harreld, took the podium the same evening and called the move a dangerous form of federal overreach.
See, here you are right here. Another mayor, just like the mayors in LA, the mayor in Chicago, the mayor in Boston, the mayor in New York. they all say the same thing. It's like they're all on the same wavelength on ICE. That you should not move in and come after the people in our cities who may be causing crime in our city, and you should definitely not be investigating them. Now, here's my problem. The local police must not be investigating them either. So what do you do with the crime? You just let it go? Or are you on the payroll? I don't know.
He invoked the 10th Amendment, arguing that federal agents could not compel local police to assist in deportations or detentions. Harrell said Seattle would remain a sanctuary city, one that upholds humanity and due process even under pressure. His response drew applause from immigrant advocacy groups, but opened the floodgates for confrontation. The mayor's office pledged to protect the rights of residents regardless of immigration status. But to ICE, that sounded like defiance. By the weekend, downtown Seattle became the stage for dueling narratives. Protesters filled the streets outside City Hall carrying signs that read, "Shut down ICE" and "Sanctuary for all." Chants echoed through the financial district while local police tried to keep demonstrations.
Again, why? And see, this is funny because I don't understand it. I mean, the people of these cities are okay with it. It's like if you live there in Seattle and all this crime is going on around you, you're okay with it. You just turn a blind eye to it, and you say, well, it's okay. And then I definitely don't want the feds in here, so we'll just live in this crime-ridden city, and we'll keep electing the people, and we'll keep having the police that won't do anything, and we'll be all right.
It's peaceful. A few blocks away, counter-protesters waved American flags and held up photos of overdose victims, demanding stricter immigration laws. The images captured the new face of the national divide. One side calling for compassion, the other for control. Behind the headlines, the operation's logistics revealed why it required every ounce of that authority. The DEA, ICE, FBI, and ATF operated under a unified command structure that had been months in the making. Each agency brought its own arsenal of expertise. DEA led the narcotics tracing, ICE managed immigration and logistics data, FBI handled digital forensics, and ATF dealt with weapons, recovery, and explosives. Together they formed a command network capable of responding in real time as new intelligence surfaced. The operation's precision bordered on military coordination. Over 600 agents, officers, and analysts worked in sequence during the 36-hour window of action. Helicopters hovered over industrial parks in Tacoma. Drones mapped warehouses in Arlington, and federal strike teams breached safe houses across Whidbey Island. In one raid, agents discovered grenade components and volatile chemicals stored beside narcotics, forcing the deployment of hazmat teams to secure the site. The operation spanned both urban and rural terrain, revealing how the cartel had used Washington's geography to conceal its trade.
Count indictment includes drug dealers and a truck driver from Snohomish County, King County, and Mexico. While more than a dozen are in custody, 6 remain on the run, and the DEA says this investigation is ongoing.
The Sinaloa cartel.
The U.S. Attorney's Office for Western Washington later confirmed it was the largest multi-defendant indictment in 2 decades. 37 federal counts covered conspiracy, distribution, weapons possession, and money laundering.
Man, they had a serious criminal network running through that city, and it took a lot of manpower to lock it down.
Investigators said the indictments were structured to prevent plea deals that could collapse the case, ensuring that cartel-linked suspects would face full federal prosecution. The coordination between agencies was praised as a model for future anti-cartel missions. Federal officials credited the success to advancements in digital forensics and data fusion. Analysts had tracked financial flows across cryptocurrency exchanges, matched GPS data from seized phones, and decoded encrypted telegram channels. Every suspect was identified through a blend of digital breadcrumbs and traditional surveillance. The lesson was clear. Modern cartel operations rely on technology, and only technology-driven enforcement can dismantle them. Yet, as the headlines faded, the aftermath became as complex as the operation itself. In Washington and across the country, officials hailed the Seattle takedown as proof that the cartel threat was not limited to the border. The message spread fast. Cartels had already infiltrated American cities, but the United States was finally fighting back. In political speeches and campaign ads, One statistic echoed everywhere: 6.9 million potential deaths prevented. The number became both evidence and argument, a rallying cry for stronger enforcement policies.
Today, the drug...
All right. Man, that was a deep video. I know that the cartels are embedded in the U.S. in places. And I definitely know they're in cities where the big cities that can be the hubs for drug trafficking, which would be, like Atlanta, Chicago, L.A., Seattle, Boston, New York. And these drugs are moving across our roads and across our seaways. And I don't know. I mean, we have people in our country that think that immigration should be wide open and these people should be allowed to flow through, even the criminals, and do whatever they want in our country. And then if you try to crack down on them, then you're the bad guy. I don't get it. But thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you on the next video.